Welcome back, and you're still on to Spotlight with Mercy on Kaftan Television, and we're rushing you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. Well, right now, I've been joined by a guest in the studio to digest what it should be, or what it is that Nigerians should be celebrating after 64 years of independence. And of course, joining me in the studio this evening is Shittu Adebayo, who is the former Minister of Communications. You're highly welcome, sir.
Thank you.
We're glad to have you this evening. And let me begin by saying Happy Independence.
We thank God.
All right, sir. I am very sure you listened to the speech of Mr. President yesterday while addressing Nigeria. And of course, his speech touched on a number of things. But would you say it addressed the concern of Nigerians?
Well, I believe so. Leadership is one big challenge. We live in a very diverse society, a people who are more than 220 million. Different tribes, different languages, different worldviews, different perspectives. And more often than not, it's very difficult to be able to satisfy all these, diversities. But what is common is the Nigerian economy. How do we get it up and doing? Mr. President, when he came in, he had to take very difficult decisions which were unacceptable to most Nigerians. There's no doubt that most Nigerians did not accept it because of the effect it had on their incomes and their livelihood. But it's like, if you have a fireplace in a house and you have small children, they look at the fire, they look at the different colors emanating from the fire. They want to go and touch it. Because they enjoy it, they like it, they like the beauty in the rainbow of colors in the fire. But a good mother or a sane mother will certainly prevent the child from moving near the fire. Of course, while the parent is trying to prevent the child from moving on, the child would start crying because it wants to, to experience, what is pleasing to it. Okay. But you agree with me that if the child knows the danger in touching that, rainbow of colors, it would appreciate that what the parents are doing in preventing it from reaching the fire is the best thing in the circumstance. Again, when people are sick and you take them to hospital, you want to give injection. A lot of people would, be scared of the pain of injection. But the doctor knows that that injection and that pain is a necessary incident to bring about healing. Okay. Again, in the Yoruba language, we say that we have an adage that, titariro la kola, tuba jinatan arirekete. Yorubas do have tribal marks. When you are, trying to bring about the tribal marks, of course, the child who is being given those marks will be crying. So it is with pain that to do tribal marks on the face of any child. But when it gets, when there's healing, when it gets cured, it looks beautiful on the face. So what Mr. President has done, because he has become an insider in government, he has all the facts and has discovered that Nigeria was merely postponing the evil day. You can imagine a situation where Nigeria, produces crude oil over the years. But for the past 30 years, none of our refineries has worked. Okay. So what is implied is that this crude must be taken abroad to refineries overseas for refining. Okay. To take the crude from Nigeria to, say, Italy or Spain or whatever, you pay transportation costs in dollars. Okay. When you are refining it there, you also pay in dollars. To bring the refined products back, you pay in dollars. All of these monies, the additional, cost that is incurred, on top of the crude oil, makes a lot of debt, because Nigeria has had to be borrowing from the international market for the additional cost of transportation to and fro and of. So he felt that if we do not stop the unnecessary, additional cost, Nigeria will soon collapse.
All right. let me, all right, viewers, this is a reminder that our phone lines are now open for you to call in to join the conversation or give your contribution. I love the fact that you talked about our refineries and you talked about the president trying to stop the fact that we have to borrow from other countries. That I think that's where the fuel subsidy comes in. But Mr. President talked about a few achievements under his administration. But the question is, the common man cannot feel this achievement. So would you say this is misalignment, or would you say this is a misalignment? Because the president talked about all this, but Nigerians don't feel it. They don't feel.
Well, Nigerians
he spoke about. I listened to Mr. President spoke about insecurity, where he said that about 3,000 or 300
more than 3,000
Boko Haram sponsors has been eliminated. But they in the we are looking at insecurity staring at us in the eyes.
No, but I mean, anybody who is careful and vigilant will know that these incidences are going down. It is often said that tough times don't last, tough people do. You agree with me that the preponderance of banditry a few months back is going down. If you have 100 criminals, if you eliminate one of them, the number is no more 10. I mean, it's no more 100, it is 99.
But do you agree with me that untold hardship on the citizens increase criminalities and crimes? Because now you go to the street of Abuja today, you barely transport yourself from Berger to Airport Road without the fear of being robbed, without the fear. And this is I'm not trying to justify the act, but this is in a way that people seem to do whatever it is or whatever it takes to survive. You go about. I have a sister who was involved in the one chance of a thing, and when you look at it, you agree that untold hardship increased the number of crimes.
One chance has always been part of Abuja.
So if Mr. President is saying that he's been able to deal with insecurity, but we don't see it.
It is work in progress. It's not, the thing did not start in a year or 2 years or 3 years. It has been growing over the years. If you listen to some of the interviews of the bandits, they will tell you that what they are doing is actually a rebellion against the old order in their various communities.
Okay.
Particularly in the Northwest. They claim that over the years, the authorities in Northwest in particular, find faults against the Fulanis, get them imprisoned, seize their cattle. At times they even seize their wives, and they undergo. So they felt that why must they be the ones bearing, the cost of these transgressions by the leadership? Particularly, I mean, it was suggested that by the authorities, the kings and chieftains in the various localities. And to me, I mean, if I remember what our late sage, the late Chief Abafe, he died more than 20 years ago. But he had warned us, if you fail to train the children of the poor, they would ensure that your own children do not sleep with both eyes closed.
Okay.
Over the years, I mean, why do we have Almajiris in virtually all northern cities? It is the failure of the administration in all of these states, which refuses or neglected to bring about education for the children of the poor masses. These children grow up to discover that they are non-entities in society. On the other hand, they see their, fellow human beings, enjoying life, living in, beautiful buildings, riding cars, and say, why must they be excluded from this civilization? So this exactly what I expected in the North, particularly that education ought to have been free and compulsory over the last 30, 40 years.
Okay.
If you train a child up to a level, he will never imagine that he will leave the townships and go and be living in the bush, in the forest. Okay. They will not. But because society had neglected them, had abandoned them, had, prevented them from having hope in the world, in society, in their communities. That is partly and substantially, one of the causes of banditry, as we have been able to glean from interviews of some of these bandits.
Okay.
So, and until, of course, also, there's also the issue of mining. We understand that in many communities in the north, there are rich mineral resources.
Okay.
Some people who exploit the situation, the ignorance, they recruit people to go and mine illegally. And it is through them that they get all the arms and ammunition which the bandits use. Otherwise, you can imagine a completely ignorant, Fulani header who has sophisticated guns. Where did they get those guns? Those guns, cost a lot of money. Some people who use them to mine illegally in these various communities are the ones. So it's like an industry. Banditry is like an industry which is utilized to support illegal mining in several communities in the north. Okay,
before we talk about the confab that the president talked about, let me ask you, it's been 64 years of gaining independence, and what exactly, before I talk about the confab, what exactly should Nigerians be celebrating?
We are celebrating that we are still alive. We are celebrating that we still remain an entity. We are celebrating the fact that civilization is growing, education is growing, industrialization is growing.
If you talk about education growing, under this administration, even education is not affordable for a common man. So how is it a growth?
It will be affordable.
It will be affordable, but
let me tell you. Because of the cost of education, which was perhaps getting out of the reach of children, government decided to start an education, loan scheme for anybody to ensure that nobody leaves school because of lack of funding. And this, education loan scheme is available in all civilized nations.
Okay.
So now that we have that, nobody would have an excuse again of withdrawing from school because he cannot pay school fees. Of course, if I have my chance, if I have the power, education should be completely free. Instead of, even this infrastructure of administering the loan itself would take a lot of money.
Okay.
I think education should be the right of every citizen in this country, particularly our children, such that nobody would have an excuse of either because the parents are poor, or some other excuses, to miss getting educated.
Okay.
So education should really be free, and I want to use the opportunity to urge Mr. President to remove the structure or completely of, this loan scheme. Let education be free. The minimum that Nigerians should have as a constitutional right is free education and free health services.
All right.
Once the masses know that the government has guaranteed these two essential services, everybody will struggle. It will remain how to eat and perhaps get clothed.
All right, I am drawn to ask you what happens to those who are out of schools and are unable to get jobs, but that would be a discussion for another day. When Mr. President talked about organizing a 30 days confab with the youth, I seem to sit down and ask myself, what other confab, what other interaction is Mr. President organizing with the youth when he cannot even listen to their plights? We have seen the NSAS protest.
Yes.
We have seen that of the end bad governance. So what other confab is more important than the ones they have come out to the streets to air their voice?
If people are accusing the president of not listening, if he was not listening,
because we assume that this confab might end up in a way that will not be beneficial. If the president listens, he sees.
Yes.
Yeah, he sees.
What in the absence of this confab, what do you expect the president to have done?
the president should listen to the plight of the common Nigerians, the youths, which they have gone out, which they're taken to the streets to protest.
What are the specifics? Which
they made certain demand from Mr. President when they protest. They talked about the returning the fuel subsidy. They talked about the electricity tariff that was hiked. They talked about insecurity. They've talked about food insecurity.
Are you assuming that Mr. President just sleeps and wakes up and sleeps and does not do anything in regard to the concerns of Nigerians?
I am not assuming. I am saying which other confab it speaks louder than that which the people are taking to the streets to protest.
Look,
yes.
I mean, if Mr. President is, convoking,
because let's not look at it as in a way that some youths would be lobbied to, in a situation where some persons would be closed mouth with amount of money and the rest of it.
A conference would enable youth groups and organizations to be able to have discussions with government, to be able to tell in concrete terms and agree on basic things that.
But they've made all these things known.
They were not in protest.
Through protest, yes.
Through protesting. Should that be the best thing? Should it be the protest? I mean, violent protests all over, where people use opportunities to loot other people's properties and all of that. And now the president is giving an opportunity. Come, all of you, come, let us talk. And let us articulate the things that we can all reasonably agree will be in the best interest of Nigeria's growth and the growth of youth. And we are complaining again. I mean, that's a very, very unique platform. Having a conference, anybody who has something to say, please come. Let us know what
they've been saying it.
If they say now they have an opportunity in an organized, orderly manner to come and restate it, and then, for instance, if I were to be in such a conference and somebody comes and say, no, we don't want fuel subsidy, is one of our demands, I will try to convince such a person why oil subsidy removal is inevitable. I'm also suffering. I mean, I'm a common Nigerian. I don't work for government. I feel the pangs of the removal as much as any other person. But I will be reasonable to, when good reasons are given as basis for governmental action. Of course, I'll be reasonable.
Don't get me wrong. Mr. President's idea of organizing the confab is a fantastic one. It's a very fantastic idea. But what I am saying is this: do we have, because of course it's going to cost us resources. Now, whereby the people have been making they have been lending their voices, been making their demand through protest, through social media. The rest of, let's not even talk about the social. Maybe Mr. President, he once said that he no longer goes to the social media because of the abuse and everything that is being thrown, and he has seen these people gone to the streets to protest. So, and while protesting, they've made clear what they are demanding.
The demands made in riotous, congregations are not the best. Government is now saying, look, I know you are angry. I have had cacophony of things. Now come, let us discuss. So what is wrong with that? I mean, we don't want government to interact with Nigerian youths. We don't want government to give, a very good environment.
But we've had this one time in 2014.
Which one?
The confab.
Which confab did you have in 2014?
Well, we know one went there. There was a confab in 2014.
That was a political confab. That was a confab.
That's the point I am trying to make. The same thing might still repeat itself.
You see, the confab of 2014 you are talking of is about politics, about what type of government should we be running, about what should be in the constitution, what is not. This one is about the youth. What are their aspirations? What do they feel? Do they have all the information that they require to have? And why don't you allow them to come forward? In an ideal situation, there's no Nigerian who is not represented in the National Assembly.
Okay.
In the federal government, you have 3 tiers. You have the executive, you have the judiciary, you have the legislature. The executive is not the only arm of government. Those in the legislature are representing all of us, and they are the ones who are supposed to listen to us. They are supposed to be the ones the public will be putting pressure on to raise this issue or raise that issue and make this law, make that law, and all of that. And then they now, all the proposals will now be, reduced to laws, for the executive to implement. But if that is not happening, and the president is saying, okay, you come, all of you come, let us sit down and discuss, I think that's the greatest opportunity.
Now, you think the representatives are not representing their people well enough?
I have not said that. I don't know whether we too have been really talking to our legislators. I don't know. But, I mean, a lot of people seem to forget that we even have a legislature in place. I mean, we should make the best use of them.
All right, let me hold it there before we move on to the next question while we hear from this caller. Hello, a very good evening.
Hello, good morning.
Oh, good evening. Oh, good evening. Glad to have you join us on the show. Your name and where you're calling us from?
Benjamin Oya. I'm calling from Jos.
Benjamin Oya from Jos. Please go ahead with your thoughts. And you have just 60 seconds.
Yeah, I was following the program, and I think the main question you are asking to your invitees there. You know where you are going.
Okay.
But sometimes it's good for one to come out plainly. Mr. President is part of our past this thing. It's part of the past government. He knows the problem of Nigeria.
Okay.
He knows when it starts. Even during the time of Abiola, Mr. President knows them. So I think, just like me, I know how old I am. I know what is Nigeria problem. Talking of him that is older than me.
Okay.
So sometimes it's good to do the needful. He is calling for us to sit in the round table as a youth to discuss. He knows the problem. Even why we started calling for protest is because he refused to do the needful.
Okay.
That's why we'll start protesting. So we still protest, and you know what we are saying. You still want us to sit.
All right.
Number one, our refinery is not working.
Okay.
The most important thing, once he come in, is put a draft how to make that refinery work. If you know that you remove subsidy immediately.
Okay.
Immediately you remove the subsidy, start making move on the refinery. At least by now, something could have been showing.
All right.
Called refinery.
All right.
Now Nigeria is spending on that for fuel, which is not supposed.
Okay.
That's a private organization. But we are advertising it as if it's public organization,
Okay.
which is totally wrong. He knows what is happening in Nigeria, and he knows when it started.
All right.
I know everything, but the way he's acting as if he has hired Nigeria for these 4 years, which is funny.
All right.
Even most of his appointees, Senate or whatever, everybody, they know what is happening, and they know what they are doing.
All right. Thank you very much.
We are just dialoguing, we're not listening to it, just that they know what is happening, and they know what the problem of Nigeria, and they know how to solve it.
All right. Thank you very much for your thoughts, and I will have to let you go now.
Solve it, because if they did not solve it, that will come, they will beg.
All right.
For us to give them a chance to solve it.
All right.
That's the promise.
All right. Thank you very much for your contribution, and have yourself a wonderful evening. I was going to ask another question before this caller said, you heard him call. He said, Mr. President already knows the plight of the young Nigerians. So what's the need for calling for the confab?
So what you should just assume that Nigerians have spoken.
Well,
I'm happy that even the last speaker spoke, of the importance of roundtable talks. Things must be done in an orderly manner. You may think, I mean, it's like every child will think the father, has all it takes to make his life very comfortable.
Okay.
And he will make demands. Every child will make every demand. Whether, possible, feasible or not feasible. He will know the pocket of the father.
But I, as a responsible child, knows my father's financial strength and will not make demand. What Nigerians...
At what age do you know? Did you begin to know your father's?
As young as I was, as young as when I was still in primary school, I know if my father is a politician or my father is just an ordinary trader. So I know what kind of demands to make, and this is what Nigerians are saying in effect.
Maybe you're a very special girl, lady.
No, but it's the truth. It's the truth.
No, it's not.
If you're my father, I know I should know maybe at least 90% of your financial strengths and know what my demands should be.
Everybody,
and that is the same thing Nigerians are asking. They are asking for the common thing, like they're asking for the for the list of things, which is security, which is to be able to eat a 3 square meal, to be able to live normal life. This is what all Nigerians are asking for, and it's too much. Well, I think we've dwelled so much on that, but I have this final question for you before we go. Mr. President talked about national honors yesterday during his speech. In this time and phase, do you think it is the right time to talk about national honors? I mean, Nigeria is going through such a very hard time. It is a very hard phase, and Mr. President is talking about national honor.
It's a matter of style. Let me tell you, I have said it on another platform earlier today with the press. We have 3 arms of government: the executive, the legislature, the judiciary.
Okay.
On the day Mr. President was inaugurated, he was given the award of Grand Commander of Nigeria on that day. I don't know whether people have an objection to that, and would say because they are not yet started performing. On the day the Chief Justice of Nigeria was sworn in, he was also given a similar award. For the judiciary, for the legislature. The president considers this time as, in honor of the fact that we are celebrating.
The fact is it what it? But excuse me, sir. Let's quickly hear from this caller before we go, because we are out of time. Hello, good evening. Please, in few seconds, your name and where you're calling us from. You have just 60 seconds. Okay, we lost that caller, but I am trying to say, like, in a phase where Nigerians are depressed and hungry, is it right?
What does it take away from our nationhood? What does it take away? What is the cost of, honoring?
It doesn't take anything away, perhaps, but Nigerians feel like it's a misplaced priority.
Well, I don't know. It's not for me.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir, for coming. I really do appreciate your audience. It's been wonderful with you in the studio this evening. And at this point, this is where we'll come to the end of the show. Don't forget to join us again on Friday at 5 p.m. on Kaftan Television. But before I go, it is not looking like it, like I said before I began the program. But let's keep holding on. Let's keep being hopeful that one day, someday, sometime, Nigeria will become that great nation which it is destined to be. Have a wonderful evening. I remain Messi Emily. Keep watching Kaftan Television.